All right, let's go ahead and drop that intro real quick.
Ain't no funeral. Ain't the Terradome. Neither. Welcome
To hell. As we sitting here rocking to this shit.
Favorite scary movies.
Cue those applause for me. Welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk About Horror, the horror podcast where I talk about any and everything related to the genre. And usually I have a long ass intro, but I'm gonna jump right into the show today. So I have like a bit of things to talk about. I'm gonna start off with today's show talking about a Bird Box or Not. Yeah, I'm bringing it back right now. So for a lot of you guys that listen to the show, I have a segment called Bird Box or Not where I talk about movies, usually newer movies, but this time I'm probably gonna talk about a movie that I just recently watched, and I'm probably gonna do that with a lot of movies now. I mean, hell, it's my show. I could do whatever the fuck I want, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about a recent movie that I watched. I don't know if you guys watched it or not, but I'm pretty much gonna talk about what I think about it, what was good, what was bad, and if the movie is good, you could either not bird box it, where you get this sound right here.
Look at this. Isn't it beautiful?
Look. Gary, please don't do this.
Show the baby. Show the baby.
No, Olivia. You're just so bad.
But if the movie is bad and it's total shit, you would get this sound right here.
Listen to me. I'm only going to say this once. Under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold.
Okay, take your blindfold off.
Do not take your blindfolds off. Do not.
Which means you should definitely bird box, not watch that shit, douse that shit in chlorine, and burn that motherfucker from your retinas. So the movie I want to talk about today, for today's segment of Bird Box or Nah, is The Boy. And The Boy is usually on Netflix. You can usually find it on there. I know recently that they took it off and they didn't have it on there for a while, but recently they brought it back. So I've been kind of curious on when to watch this movie and see what it's about. It has got a lot of hate from people around my circle. I mean, they hate this film. And I've seen a cinema sins about this film. So I'm kind of cheating with like what I was expecting from this film because I kind of know what's going to happen. But I wanted to still watch it for myself to get my own perspective and my own thoughts about what I feel about it. So let's go ahead and start this Bird Box shit.
Let the games begin.
So the premise of the film focuses on Greta, who is played by Lauren Cohen. I don't know much about Lauren Cohen's other films that she starred in or was in, but in this film, she's playing this woman who is on the run from a recent relationship. We don't get much context why she's on the run, but she takes up this job as a nanny in the UK, and she is taking care of this family's son. Now, when she gets there, she learns that the Hillshire, which is the family's name, that they're taking care of her son, Brahms, who turns out to be this life-size doll. Now, for the family, they give Greta these set of rules to follow to take care of Brahms while they're away on a vacation. But when Greta doesn't follow those rules, she ends up encountering a lot of disturbing or kind of troubling situations that kind of forces her hand into playing in the rules and into taking care of Brahms. What do I like about this film? What I like about this film is that it has a lot of context clues. And they give a lot of clues throughout the film. One thing that we're being told throughout this film is that this movie is literally about a possessed doll. That's not really the case if you watched this film before. Oh, and by the way, there is major spoilers. So if you haven't seen this film before, I would suggest you probably just get off this podcast. I'm sorry, but if anything, we talk about the film and things about this film whether you've seen it or not. But there's a lot of clues that are being given in this film to kind of like point you in the direction that not only is this doll not really possessed, but that the real Brahms is actually still alive and he's well enough going. When I first watched the Cinema Sins and they were talking about this movie, I'm sitting here trying to think like, okay, what is the doll reveal going to be like? Because I'm thinking like this doll is possessed like Chucky or like Annabelle or like Sabrina. If any of you guys ever watched the movie Sabrina before, that film was a really good film, by the way. That's one of those best underrated foreign films no one really talk about. But in this film, Brahms is not really alive. Well, the doll, I mean. Brahms is well enough alive as a person. And the thing is that the film kind of points you in that direction with all the clues that they try and give. So basically, the clues that are being given throughout the film are just stuff like when Greta, she first comes into the Hillshire's house and they're introducing her to Brahms and they're trying to teach her all the ways of taking care of Brahms. They tell her things that are just very interesting that will make you wonder, like, why are they telling this woman to do this? So things like you have to read to Brahms out loud. You have to play loud music while giving his lessons. You have to read to him out loud. You have to shout at him to wake him up. Pick up the doll. You have to leave food in the crate when you don't eat all your food. And picking up all the rats and leaving rat traps so they don't get into the crawl spaces. Now, on the surface level, it seems like they're telling her to kind of keep up the house and try and make sure that the doll doesn't get destroyed in any type of way. Now, on the surface level, yes, it does sound like that. But underneath all that, as we journey on through the film, we learn that the doll isn't what they're trying to take care of or trying to protect. It's the actual person, Brahms, who is still in the house. And another context clues that are being given is that throughout the film, you kind of hear him journeying through the crawl spaces of the house. Now, at first, I ignored the crawl spaces. I didn't pay attention to that, even though I knew while watching this film what the movie was about and that we were eventually going to see the real Brahms. I still ignored the fact that there are crawl spaces in the house that were still clanging and that was Brahms, the real Brahms, I mean, moving about the house and trying to journey through and watch Greta as much as possible. Another context clue that shows that this movie isn't what we think the movie is about. Now, I know they kind of established the fact that Brahms is supposed to be shy and what have you by the parents, the Hillshires. But when we don't actually see the doll move, talk, or do anything, and that the doll is just a doll, it should have been a indication right there that this movie isn't about a possessed doll, but a man who went insane as a child. And that's one thing that I found very intriguing about this movie. Well, another thing that I found intriguing is that the story of Brahms on his death and why he was being killed. Now, what it sounds like on the surface again, that the Hillshires, because this girl named Emily Cribs, who used to play with Brahms, end up getting killed by Brahms. The parents staged this elaborate death because obviously Brahms is still alive, and that they made it seem like Brahms died in a fire. Now, to me, here's some things I don't understand. Even though they kind of faked the death of Brahms, I don't know why they still try to play this game, or they do this whole role of like they're grieving for their son. But they know he's still alive. But I mean, I guess like this is more for show for people who are around the house. Because it makes me wonder, like when people aren't there, is Brahms like walking around the house. I know Brahms is given his own room, his own fridge, and just like little space in the crawl space of the house. But does Brahms actually get out of the crawl space and hang around his parents when no company is there? You know, when Malcolm is not there delivering the groceries or the driver isn't there. I mean, I didn't see no other help that was in the house, so it was basically Malcolm and the driver who really are the ones hanging around the house. Maybe they had a slew of nannies that were there before Greta, but even then, it makes me wonder, like, how many times have Brahms actually come out of that crawl space, hung around his parents, and they ditched the doll, like, whatever. I don't know, but hearing the story about them kind of like faking his death, that was a very intriguing storyline to add into the movie. Also, that was very interesting was the fact that the Hillshires' real intention was being hidden from the film, which was them killing themselves and leaving Greta to take care of Brahms, or actually leaving Brahms to take care of Greta. Now, I don't know who was taking care of who personally, but it just came off as a very interesting storyline to me that the Hillshires pretty much was like, fuck this shit. Hey, you can have her. They wrote this note. And that was another thing. That was another context clue, was the fact that they written a note to Brahms and they labeled it Mommy and Daddy at the end. At first, I didn't know what was said in the letter until you hear about it later on in the movie. I was really interested in what that letter was saying. If you ask me, I was really wondering, like, okay, well, we know Brahms is whatever. I mean, something's going on with Brahms. We don't know yet, but I mean, I already knew what was going on with Brahms. I was just interested in knowing what the letter said. You know, I wanted to know whether she knew that the Hillshires killed themselves, and I'm pretty sure she did kind of come to some realization that they wanted her to take care of, and I mean the Hillshires, the Hillshires wanted Greta to take care of Brahms, but I think when she read the letter, she realizes the Hillshires want Brahms to take care of her. But those are just a few things that I liked about this film. Let's jump onto things that I didn't like. What was really wrong with this film? And I could tell you one thing. Definitely the consistency of them telling the story, because again, they're trying to tell us that this doll is possessed, but really it's just the man going crazy because he's been crazy. He never grew up or anything like that, and he's always had like this murderous outrage. I guess more of a context clue would have been that Malcolm recalled a story about him talking to Mr. Hillshire, and that Mr. Hillshire was kind of drunk for whatever reason, and he told Malcolm, when Malcolm asked him how was the real Brahms like, Mr. Hillshire told Malcolm that Brahms was odd. Now that's kind of like an odd thing to say about a kid, because most kids are odd anyway when they're young. I mean, I was an odd kid too. You know, we all ate our boogers, you know, didn't know how to wipe our asses correctly. Like, you know, point me to a fucking 5-year-old that knew how to wipe his ass right. Come on, man. And I'm being joking. I'm joking about that. That's kind of weird if you do point me to a 5-year-old that does know how to wipe his ass correctly, by the way. What I'm saying is kids are fucking dirty. Flat out. And they are odd. I mean, come on. Like, when you're a kid, you believe in a lot of weird shit. Like, you believe in Santa Claus, a man that breaks into your house and leaves your gifts, but eat up all your cookies and drink up all your milk. What kind of fuck shit is that? Or the Tooth Fairy. You got this bitch that comes in again, break into your house and she takes your teeth. I don't know, man. That sounds like something that would be in like a Jeepers Creepers movie, or a fucking Eli Roth story. You know, I'm just saying, like the thought of some bitch coming into your house, flying like a pixie and shit, and she goes under your pillow, takes your teeth or takes your tooth, and leaves you money, which is not much. Is some crazy shit. Or the other idea about the Easter Bunny. I don't know how many people believed in the Easter Bunny. I want to say I believed in him at a certain age, but then I didn't even believe in him anymore going past, I want to say 6. I don't remember believing in the Easter Bunny past 6 years old. I don't. Same thing with Santa Claus. I think I found out my mother was Santa Claus maybe around the age of 7. I want to believe that. Because I remember one time I literally found a fucking receipt and it literally had a list of like all the toys that is literally from Christmas. And so I'm sitting there like, and honestly, I was a smart little kid back then. Like I'm a dumbass adult now, but I was a smart little kid back then. So I'm looking at the fucking receipt. I see everything that's on the list. And so I'm putting 2 to 2 together. And I'm sitting there like, Mom, what is this? Like, now I don't remember the conversation about Santa Claus not being real. But that's when I kind of figured Santa Claus wasn't fucking real at all. I mean, I learned at an early age. And ever since then, I found that receipt. I've been trying to catch the action. And it's so funny. I was always trying to catch the action. I would literally stay up late just to see when, like, my mom was dropping the presents under the tree to make it look like, hey, look, Santa was here. Now, the fucked up thing about it is that I had a younger sister, and she was like a couple of years younger than me. So for her, she was still believing like, oh my God, there's a Santa Claus. But for me, I was like, nah, there ain't no Santa at all. Like, is Mom playing games with us, bro? It was so funny because I think when I finally caught them in the act, and I have to say them because my older sister was in on it also. The one that I keep mentioning about how she used to try and scare me with Chucky and shit like that. So I believe I was like 10 years old. They're still trying to play this game of like, hey, Santa Claus came through, but even though you know, we're not showing you the trick and all that. So one night I didn't really sleep. And I remember this too. I remember I was up and I don't remember what my bedtime was. I think it was some early shit. When you're a kid, you get like them early bedtimes, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock or some shit like that. But I remember that I was up real late and I was just sitting there waiting. And then I was just laying in bed. And I remember my mom just sitting there waiting to like, for me and my sister to fall asleep because we slept in the living room. We weren't in a big house or anything like that. So we're sitting there. Well, I'm sitting in my bed, just lying, waiting. And my mom's just sitting there waiting till like I go to sleep. And what's funny is that I kind of fake sleep. Well, I don't fake sleep, I should say. I think I fell asleep for one moment. And for some reason, I just woke up because I think my older sister, and she was always loud. Like, one thing I could say, she was not a quiet person per se. And it's so funny because, like, I'm lying there, I'm sleeping. All of a sudden, I hear this banging, and I'm like, oh, what is that? So I'm lying there, I'm pretending to be asleep. Sure enough, I see my older sister dragging out some of the presents, and I'm sitting there like, oh, that's how that shit works. So my older sister hid the presents in her room while me and my younger sister were sitting there like, how the hell did this shit work? And it was funny because I got caught too, because I think I was laughing about it because I was like, I got you. You know, like a little kid would. I got you. So I guess I snickered or whatever. And my older sister came to me and she's like, boy, you're not asleep. I'm like, nope. Oh, man. Best memories of my life, man. But yeah, kids believe in weird shit. I mean, there's nothing odd about it, you know, as I'm circling back to the movie, which, again, like, it's a weird thing for an adult to say about a kid. Like, most kids are weird anyway, but that was definitely a context clue that kind of showed that Brahms is still alive. But the thing is that the movie still tried to play you into thinking like Brahms is a doll. And the one thing that they do is that they have a rainfall that falls on the doll to make it look like the doll is crying until Greta looks up and sees that, you know, it's just a raindrop that falls on Brahms. But here's one damning thing about this movie that make it seem like they're really trying to point it as the doll being alive is that when Greta is taking her shower to kind of like go out with Malcolm, Brahms goes into the bathroom. He sneaks up in there and takes Greta's dress, and I believe he takes her necklace also. The thing is, to me, the doll is porcelain. And I feel like for a doll, even if that doll was alive, you will be able to hear that doll clanging all over the room. And I felt like, okay, well, if this doll is alive, we should be hearing like some glass like clinging to like the floors or to the knobs, to the doorknobs or whatever. But we don't. We're treated as if like this doll is very stealthy. And then another thing, like, even though we know it's the real Brahms that takes her dress, I don't get how she couldn't see this dude. I mean, the real Brahms is not technically a small guy per se. And he doesn't look like a very, I guess, steady guy. Meaning, like, he doesn't look like he's not clumsy. I mean, he seems like a very clumsy dude. Considering that he's clanging mostly throughout the house through the crawl spaces. Now, I could take the fact that he maybe went through a crawl space and he took her dress that way. But I can't sit there and be sold and think like this bitch did not see this dude walking through the fucking bathroom and he didn't make no type of noise at all. And I get like Brahms is kind of degenerate, like he hasn't like fully matured and that he's kind of stuck in a child's mind state. But at the same time, kids are not sneaky. Some kids are. Well, actually, I can't say kids aren't sneaky because kids are very sneaky. I know when I was a kid, I was kind of like sneaky about some things. But doing some shit like taking her dress, come on, kids are not that sneaky like that. But again, he's a grown-ass man that somehow, someway was able to sneak through the bathroom and she didn't even see him at all. And for the simple fact that the movie tried to play it like the doll took it was very dumb because it's like, at the end of the day, it's the man that is Brahms. Like, it's the man that's Brahms. How is it that they tried to play it off like it as if doll was the one that took it? But that's just not the only thing. Another thing that was stupid was definitely Cole, Greta's ex. He had no real role in this film, I feel like. And I don't know why they had him in the film in the first place. It didn't make sense. Like, why? I get it. She's on the run. She's on the run from him. But why are we being subjected to him being part of the movie? And what was dumb is that Greta's friend Sandy literally gave Cole her location. Why? If you're her friend, her true friend, and you know that she's on the run from this motherfucker for whatever reason it is, we don't even really get a clear idea on why she's on the run from him. I guess he did something bad, but we don't even know what the bad thing is. I mean, did he yell at her? Did he cuss her out? Did he call her a bitch? Did he slap her? Did he threaten to kill her? We don't even know. She didn't have no significant bruises, nor a black eye, nor any cuts. I mean, it just seemed like maybe this dude just was, I don't know, a huge fuck up, and he just didn't sit at her quote unquote standards. So she was just like, nope, on to the next. And he was just like, nah, I don't want to move on. And the only way she felt like she could move on was to run away. I don't know. I'm just making up some shit right now because both of their logics did not make any sense. Both of their roles did not make any sense at all. And for Greta to kind of like run away to the UK just to get away from this motherfucker after they pretty much lost their baby through a miscarriage, it just seemed kind of dumb that she ran off to UK, told Sandy where she was going, told Sandy not to tell this dude where she's at, and then this bitch gonna go ahead and just tell Cole where Greta is at. Made no sense at all. And then when Cole is there, you know, he meets Brahms, and I'm talking about the doll. He meets the doll at first, and I guess Cole's role was to get the real Brahms out so we could finally see that Brahms is not really a doll that's haunting the house, but it's a man that never really grew up. Yeah, I just thought it was poorly executed. I did not like the whole Brahms reveal when I finally got to see it for myself. And for the fact that it was so poorly executed, I do like the context clues. Don't get me wrong. The context clues really do kind of give you the idea that the doll is not the main focus of this film, but that there's really a man that's still in the house. But for the fact that the film really kind of tries to point you in the direction of the doll, more so that there's a real man that's living in the house, I'm gonna have to say you guys gotta bird box this shit.
Listen to me. I'm only gonna say this once. Under no circumstance are you allowed to take off your blindfold.
Okay, take your blindfolds off.
Do not take your blindfolds off. Do not.
And what makes this whole thing even worse is that there's a sequel that's supposed to come out this year. I mean, I know it got delayed because of COVID, but I don't know. If this shit is on Netflix, I might actually watch this shit just to see what they do with it. Because honestly, to me, I felt like this movie was definitively done. I mean, yeah, Brahms is still living, but who the fuck gives a fuck about this sequel? I'm just saying, like, I don't give a fuck about this sequel. Why are we making a sequel to shitty movies? You know? Like, come on, man. Like, let's leave that shit to where it was. Leave it at part 1. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. When I come back, I am going to talk about my Into the Dark rankings, and I am going to rank and review the newest installment, which is Good Boy. So like you shouldn't say in a scary movie, I'll be right back.
What's your favorite scary movie?
So for some of you guys that actually listen to me on a regular, As you know, Hulu comes out with an installment each month for their Into the Dark series, which is a holiday horror themed festival of movies that come out each month. So my current ranking system follows as this. My Valentine, which is the Valentine's Day horror movie with a score of 4 in first place. Pilgrim, which is the Thanksgiving themed holiday movie with a score of 3.63. Nasty Piece of Work, which is the Christmas holiday themed movie, sitting at a score of 3.25. In fourth place, Deliver, which is the Mother's Day themed movie, sitting at a score of 3. Crawlers, which is the St. Patrick's Day movie, sits at a score of 2.86. Puka Lives, which is the April Fool's Day holiday movie, which sits at a score of 2.75. In seventh is Uncanny Annie, which is the Halloween themed movie, sits at a score of 2.25. And last, in eighth place, is Midnight Kiss, which is the New Year's Eve themed movie, sits at a score of 2. This month, Hulu introduced us to a new film coming in the week of Pet Appreciation Week, which is in the week of June 7th and 13th. And I feel like I'm saying week way too much, by the way. Which stars Judy Greer and a couple other people in this movie, which is a Cujo-like / Child's Play from last year type film. The premise of the film follows Greer, who plays Maggie, who is a soon-to-be 40-year-old woman who doesn't have it all. She doesn't have a husband or kids or a steady job that keeps her happy. So to compensate for her problems, she gets a support dog named Reuben. Reuben is only named that because he eats her Reuben sandwich, which I didn't even know there was sandwiches called that, by the way. Yeah, but if y'all heard of Reuben sandwiches, put that in the comments for me, please. But as soon as she gets Reuben and she becomes a little anxious, but unknowing to Maggie, Reuben has a sanguineous thirst for murder whenever his owner is unhappy. Where does this film rank with all the other films that have came out in the Into the Dark series? After going over the film several times and counting up all the things that I like and dislike about this film is coming in a steady third place with a score of 3.63. One, because it has a very good, consistent, and hilarious story that's being told about its owner and its love for its dog and how much she's willing to do for her dog versus the lackluster stories or inconsistent stories that were being told in Puka Lives and Midnight Kiss, where Puka Lives, which was supposed to be a April Fool's Day holiday movie, it didn't really focus on the aspects of April Fools at all. And neither did Midnight Kiss, which I felt like could have been a story that could have been told in any type of day besides New Year's Eve. For the simple fact that they put it in New Year's Day and New Year's Eve just gave it too much of a dramatic effect, which just had no type of drama for me, and it was just more of a poor story being told that was trying to be kind of like Knife plus Heart in a way. Good Boy does a good job by establishing its characters' intention, setting, and tone, whereas installments like Delivered, Nasty Piece of Work, and Crawlers came up short in one area or another, meaning that the movie was going to be more of a comedy and less of a horror nonetheless. Seeing an actress like Judy Greer, knowing that she's usually in comedy roles, is a well enough establishment that this movie wasn't going to be as serious as we were thinking it was going to be. Whereas Nasty Piece of Work kind of fails in letting the viewers know that this was going to be more of a comedy than a serious take on a movie that's taking place during a Christmas party. And with the intention, this movie is good at showing that in the film, Maggie's role and her intention as a character in this film is to protect her dog by any means necessary. We quickly see her get along with her dog in the first scene where she brings him home and he pretty much eats her Reuben sandwich, to the point where Reuben attacks Nate, who is Maggie's love interest eventually, who is also a cop working on a case of murders that Reuben has committed. We see that she's willing to do more in protecting her dog than saving whatever relationship or advances that she gained in life because of Ruben. Where in Crawlers, the character Shauna kind of gives us this whole video diary that the aliens were invading Earth, and it made it seem like Earth was already conquered and that she's given a video diary about what happened and why we got conquered. But turns out really that her and her friends, which she soon gained, pretty much defeated the aliens and managed to save Earth. But then more aliens came to invade the Earth, which was very confusing to why are you making this video in the first place? Although Good Boy is not perfect, but it does deliver a heartfelt story and a creepy storyline similar to Child's Play 2019, where the pet is now taking the place of a mechanical toy, but the dog is willing to do anything to keep its owner happy and safe, even if the gestures that it commits is pretty much misguided. So for that, I mean, I had to rank this movie third place because it was just overall a good film. It is definitely rewatchable, and it is an easy watch to where you don't have to focus on too many things happening at once. So yeah, for that, I mean, this movie sits at a steady third place. But yeah, that's my rankings for Good Boy. And now we are going to go ahead and go to the outro.
Wendy, stay away! Darling, light of my life. I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. I'm gonna bash them right the fuck in.
Alright, so we are now at the outro, and as you know, we always have like a must-watch Tubi movie of the week. So the must-watch Tubi movie of the week is Scream, and I'm surprised that they even have this movie on here. When I saw that it is now on Tubi, and I believe they only have the first 3 movies, I don't think they have the 4th Scream movie. But I am super elated that it's on there. But for those of you that have never seen Scream before, for whatever reason or the other, Scream follows Sidney Prescott, who is played by Neve Campbell. Yes, a classic Scream queen. And she is being hunted down by a killer who calls on a cell phone. But see, the thing is that he's just not calling on a cell phone. This killer is actually involved in a string of murders around Woodsboro, and it is up to Sydney and her friends to try and stop this killer before he comes and kills her. Okay, I'm doing too much right now. But definitely check that out, you guys, if you haven't checked it out. Or if you want some nostalgia watch, definitely, that's the movie to watch this week. I mean, I know we're still under a quote-unquote pandemic. Well, actually, no. The quote-unquote is actually quarantine. We are still under quote-unquote quarantine, but everything is pretty much opening back up. I don't know how many of you guys are actually going out and enjoying life right now, going to bars and shit like that. But me personally, I am not really with the shit right now because it is one hell of a risk to take at the moment. To be honest, I don't know how contagious it is. And, I mean, I'm not trying to be scared or a pussy or anything, but it's like, is it really worth taking that much of a risk to go to your favorite restaurant or bar and risk catching this life-threatening disease? So yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not going to do my part and go to these restaurants. I am going to go ahead and still be a person that's going to use Postmates religiously. But other than that, this is the episode of Let's Talk About Horror. I am signing out for today. If you guys want to follow my social medias, it's Walter Doom1 on Twitter, Walter Doom on Instagram. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. I am definitely going to be back next week because next week is your boy's birthday. Yeah, it's going to be my birthday week. So definitely I'll be set to have you guys sit and listen to all the fuck shit I want to talk about. I'm probably going to be talking about some 70s horror films because this month I was doing 70s horrors watched, so I've been watching like a lot of 70s horror on Tubi and different other places also, but it seems like Tubi is the main place to go. And I gotta say, I got a lot of thoughts about the movies that I've watched. Sometimes I gotta question the movies I've watched too, because they are almost like, what the hell am I watching? But yeah, I'm gonna talk about that, and I'm also gonna talk about like some independent films because it is the week of Independence Day. So why not talk about some independent films that I've liked for my birthday week? And yeah, we're just gonna make it one hell of a celebration. But yeah, other than that, it's your boy signing out for another episode of Let's Talk About Horror. This is America. Don't let them catch you slipping now. Black Lives Matter. Peace.